If you are applying for the Probation Officer trainee scheme, or if you're applying to be a probation service officer or prison officer, this video is for you. I'm going to go through the making effective decision competencies so you actually know what is expected of you. Let me get into it. My name is Sarah Edwards. I'm an ex-probation officer. I'm now a tutor and coach, and I tutor psychology and criminology students, and I coach students just like you who are looking to get into the profession. And I don't know about you, but it really helps if I'm doing something that I'm finding difficult or challenging to have someone like talk me through it. So you can even rewatch this video when you're applying and just pause it so I can like walk you through step by step. So the first part of making effective decisions, they want to know, so they'll give you some prompts. So here are some of the prompts. So it is, describe a time when you had to explain a difficult decision that you made. So what they're asking you to do here is describe not the difficult decision, but the time when you had to make a difficult decision and explain it to someone. So as a probation officer, that might be, okay, I'm having to explain a difficult decision that an offender needs to leave the probation hostel because he's broken the rules. The difficult decision I've had to make is that we've had to end the tenancy there. It's not a straightforward decision. It often involves looking through the behaviours that has happened there before, his attitude, talking to staff. I say he a lot because majority of offenders we supervise are males, but obviously females as well. But there's a process to making that decision. So they want to know how you actually explained that to someone. It can be anyone, it can be a staff member, it can be family, whatever example you've got from your job or home life. That is what they want to know. Okay, next one. What information did you obtain to help inform your decision? So here, they are wanting to know that you didn't just make that decision. So say, for example, person that you're working with, he's broken the rules at the probation hostel, and you need to make a decision to end his tenancy, to remove him from there. They want to know that you haven't just said, okay, he's broken the rules there because there's been drugs found in his room, let's just end the tenancy. No. What information did you use? Did you use information from staff? So did you talk to staff who are actually at the hostel to get an account of what happened? Did you talk to the manager of the hostel to, again, get an account of how the staff have been liaising or engaging, or what the relationship there is like? Have you seen prison records to see actually how was the behaviour in prison? Is this similar or is this out of the ordinary? Have you looked back at, the weeks leading up to it in your case notes to see, okay, was there anything going on here under the surface? Have you looked at previous reports, maybe previous reports when he's been in a hostel or similar setting? So they want to know that you've actually used information to make your decision and you've not just thought it off the top of your head, because that is about professionalism and making professional judgments, that you're actually drawing on information and a range of information as well. So the next thing they want you to consider is, what other options did you consider and why did you discount these? So they want to know, as a part of your decision making, it was a process that you've actually considered, okay, well, that person has broken the rules on the hostel, he's been found with drugs in his room. Okay, what other options come to the decision that you're ending the tenancy, that he has to leave? Did you consider the option of continuing the tenancy? What would have been the impact? What were the implications? What were the benefits? What about if you decided, okay, that's it, he's been recalled back to prison? Again, why? What would be the impact of that? What would be the benefit to that? They want to show that you've weighed up the decision. So what are the alternatives to him being found with the drugs in the room? What are the alternatives to him going to prison? Could you maybe add on that he now needs to go and see a substance misuse worker, or that he gets a warning? Just show what ones you haven't gone ahead with, because it shows that you actually know that there's other options out there, and based on this information, based on this, based on the attitude, behaviour, based on the whole overview, you have reached that decision. How did your decision align with the wider organisation's goals and priorities? So this one might be a bit difficult for you to kind of get in the frame of mind of addressing, but essentially it is about what is the purpose of the probation hostel, because we're using that scenario of the drugs. What is the purpose of probation? The purpose is protecting the public, rehabilitation. So you really need to weigh up, is it constructive sending someone back to prison for a couple of weeks potentially, or to go back through the whole process again of having to be released by the parole board? Is that gonna be more constructive than actually dealing with it another way? How does that fit with the policies of the organisation and the practices of the organisation? Policies are also changing and updating. Sometimes they'll have like push towards more things. So say if they are starting to, if there's like statistics or research being done, probation officers are putting people in prison too quickly, then they may be like a review and say, well, actually we need to consider alternative. And this is what I say with keeping up to date with your criminology practice, because you don't want to stray too far from actually what you know works in theory when you're working with people who've committed crime. So that is where kind of the policy making comes in. Does your decision actually align with the organisation's values? Another thing with hostels is they're moving more towards being therapeutic communities, again based on up-to-date criminology research. So does it align with that goal? Sending that person back to prison, does it actually align with that therapeutic model that they're trying to implement? So that is something to consider. Another prompt they've given is, how did you justify and explain your decision to others? You might have to explain that decision to the hostel manager, to your manager, to the service user that you're working with. You may need to explain it to the parole board or to a MAPA in your meeting, to social services. You need to know this is why you need to go through that whole process when you're making a decision, because you need to be able to explain it effectively to other people and stand firm in that decision, the reason why you've made a decision, and that is the decision that you have made based on X, Y, Z, because it holds you accountable. And it also shows that integrity and professionalism, and it also shows that you are transparent to the service user. If you keep changing your mind based on, oh, you've been to this meeting, now your mind's changed, and this meeting, now your mind's changed, doesn't really send a message of trust to the person that you're working with. This is another important one, because sometimes we get police intel, for example. So we might have had police intel that that same person in the hostel in the town that night and was caught with some drugs on them. How did we actually analyse that information? So has that person actually been charged? Because if they haven't been charged, then technically in the eyes of the law, there's no offence that has been committed. If he hasn't been charged, there's not enough evidence. So we have to be very careful what we do with the information that we've got and analyse actually, okay, well, what stage of the process is it? What is the person who's been caught saying? What are the police saying? Are they taking it forward? What are the staff members saying who have been supervising him in the hostel? Really analyse it, so you're questioning like the why, the how, where this information came from, how up to date is the information. So maybe if that person was in a hostel 10 years ago and he's had like similar kind of behaviour, is that information relevant? You need to make an assessment whether that information from 10 years ago is relevant to the situation now. This is another reason why in my course for undergraduate students studying undergrad psychology and criminology, I really focus on analysis. So the how, the why, what's the implications, because you really do need it when you're out there doing the job. Then lastly in that section, what recommendation did you make based on your decision? Again, this is going back to that example. You've made the recommendation to, for example, quit the tenancy, that he has to leave. So then what recommendation? He's leaving the hostel, so now what? What recommendation are you making for forward planning? Actually deal with that situation now that that person hasn't got a place to live. So all of that needs to be considered, and your recommendation is actually what decision you've made. And the reason they ask this is because when you are either in meetings or having reports, normally the report will draw to that recommendation, which is a bit like your conclusion when you're doing an essay. That is really key. Go back to my previous videos where I've talked about reports and you'll hear me talk a bit more about the structure of a report, but recommendation, whether it is in writing or in a meeting or to your manager, that is kind of your final point. What are you recommending? This event happened, you've gone through the decision-making process, this is what you recommend now. I hope that video was helpful. I'm going to go through all of the different competencies each week, so make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss one. Share this with anyone else who it may be useful. I am on social media, so you can join my Facebook group, the Criminology Circle, where I share a lot about writing tips for undergraduate, postgraduate and for your application. I also share loads about like mindset and how to get in the right frame of mind for things. On Instagram, I share everything to do with being a probation officer and study tips. I'm also on TikTok as well. I'll leave in the links below application form for my course. The course is Master Psychology in Criminology, the Essay Skills course, and it's a course for criminology and psychology students, and I'll take you through step by step how to actually construct and write an essay so that when you are ready to do jobs like probation officer or forensic psychologist or whatever job it is in the field of psychology and criminology, you actually already are prepared with the skills. It will get you ahead when you're doing your application forms, and it will just get you ready and set you up for your future career. Thanks for watching and see you next time.